if we run our app, if we run our app, we should get this message that our database is connected. So I'll go here and say npm starts. We're actually not getting the message database connected. So what happened here? What happened is that, first the solution should look like this. What actually happened is that our app.js doesn't actually have the change that we just made to db.js. So we need to update that in our app.js. So now, open app.js, it should look like this. And right below this line, where it says local dependency, add a new line that says constant db equals required db.
Right?
Yeah, app.js. That is in your root directory. So in the src directory.
I think I might have to do db.js now.
db, oh yeah, sorry. db.js. Right here. So now that you have that, if you run npm starts, you should get a message saying database connected. You get that?
Is everyone caught up with that? Does everyone have, or raise your hand when you got the database connection? If you haven't, everyone who has it, put your hands down if you got it. Put your hands down if you haven't. All right. Anyone still working on getting
I'll quickly explain what is happening here. When we're running our server, if you remember, we were running this file here, app.js. So app.js is the file that actually runs. db.js is not the file that runs. It only runs if you require that file inside of your app.js. So that's why we get connected only after we import db.js. Hey, Alex. In the middle, right? So,
anyone else still?
So we're having the same issue whenever we do
so now move on. If the next step is to create our comments and story models. So if everyone wants to just catch up to new actually, this one? But you require db.js and make sure you have your Mongo URL. The right URL, make sure you put username and password. npm start. You should do npm start. You should get database connected.
row. Or you can stick with Roberts too. That works.
So you've modified right?
Yeah.
Just want to see what you did. So that makes sense. That is correct.
Everyone, make sure if you're getting errors, make sure you reclone
DB to
the project. If you didn't do so, if you cloned earlier, make sure you clone it.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you.
that's what we're showing. These are three.
We're having the same thing.
Okay, where it's saying that. Yo, Aaron.
Yo,
I'm having a weird error. Maybe you can help me out.
what does it say?
It's like no daemon crashes. It says some throw really long error that crashes the entire
Okay.
program.
What's there? I'm using his
There was this error.
Alright, EA drive in use 3000. You have a port. You already were listening on port 3000.
Oh, it's fine.
And so what you have to do is go into Task Manager.
Yes, so that's, you have to use this all the time. You might want to switch to your account.
Yeah, I found this.
Processes.
Oh, this is a very common.
Is this like some 14,000? Yep.
So when you want it to work on it, yeah.
No, there is a process running. Alright, all these guys has to be ended. There's a nicer way to do it on Mac, where and like Linux, where you can kill all node things. But Windows is a bit shitty.
Mine works, I just don't.
You're
On a Mac, so Mac it's entirely done on the terminal. So you would like type in like some. You just I would recommend like
Literally
looking it up on
doing,
the like how to kill something
on
using
what?
a port.
You go to background processes and then you
Like
scroll down and look for the notice and you'll find it.
how to kill
you'll
process.
find a ton of minutes.
Really like just this doesn't
Okay.
when you are exiting the prompt when something is running and it gives you that
So-
warning, that's what causes it.
Our next step
You
here
really want to exit the prompt.
will be to create the comment and story models.
And now if I
Alright.
do the run thing, it's
So go into your story.js.
It's just in case I don't know.
Open story.js, and we want each story to have a creator ID, a creator name, and a content.
Did you figure it out? Let's do the same thing.
These are the three fields that we want our story to have. So, does anybody have an idea on how we can do this? It's very simple. We just need to use Mongoose models and Mongoose schemas. Schemas and models. So enter the following code in your story.js. Yeah, it's right here. Enter this in your story.js, and building should be empty. Story.js is in the models folder. Currently it's empty, there's nothing in it. Just enter the code, enter this code here in story.js. So, Charleston, mongoose equal required mongoose. So first require mongoose, then create this the schema. Story new mongoose schema. Inside of your schema, you put the parameters, creator ID. You want this to be a string, creator name. You want this to also be a string. And content. Content is the content of the story that you want to use. And the last thing is you have to export that. So here we did something a little bit different than we did in the slide. Oh, you have a question?
Yeah, why would you want to add another ID field to like a data
typically that ID, so this is the ID of a creator, which is like a user. The ID that's going to have unique for this is for each story. So it's kind of a different concept. One is having an ID for a story, which you want a unique ID for a story, but let's say multiple stories are posted by the same person. You want that ID to be the same. You want the creator ID to be the same.
Alright. So in the slides earlier, we had declared, we did something like constant model equals blah blah blah. So this is what we did earlier. Mongoose model, and then we call it a story model, and we put the schema here. Story model schema, that's the second parameter. What we're doing here in this code, instead of having to create a variable and then placing that model here, we're just placing it right away in here. That's just the same thing. So before we had this, we first declare constant model equals, we create the model first, and then we export that model right here. Like this will be story model, right? This is what we did before. So what I'm saying now is you don't actually need to have this in a variable. You could directly put this right here. And that's just the same thing.
So yeah, I know that there are a few people that are getting stuck with the Mongoose connection. Just raise your hand if you haven't caught up to this place yet, and then keep your hand raised if you need help catching up, or you're just taking a little bit of time to do it. No one else? Alright. Give it a minute. What's up? Alright, guys, this is a bug we run into a bunch, so I'm going to go through a quick tutorial on how you deal with it. No daemon is great. It's a tool. But the problem is when it does bad things, and if it's running and you kill the command prompt window, or you kill your little terminal window while no daemon is running, bad things will happen because your server will still be running in the background using port whatever you use to set it up as, but you no longer will have the ability to click Control-C to kill your server because you killed the window. Now when you try restarting your server on port 3000, no daemon will complain because it will say that port 3000 is already in use. The error that you'll see is EAR drive or whatever is in use and then clone 3000. The best way to deal with that is if you're on Windows, go into Task Manager, go into Processes, and kill all the Node.js tasks. If you're on Mac or on Linux, I would Google how to kill process on port 3000.
Or you can say kill all Node. Kill all Node.js. Kill all is one.
Can you just write it?
I'll just write it.
So they're going to write how to deal with this error if you're on Mac or Linux. If you want a really temporary fix, though I don't recommend doing this, for the time being you can just change the port that you're using. So you can set in app.js, you can change the 3000 to 4000. And if you go to localhost 4000, it'll work. But at some point you should kill all the node processes.
By the way, we're going to create a bunch of things in our server, and you're not going to see the results until a little bit later, so just stay with me. Probably not much. Alright, so now that we created story.js, now I want you to create this. What is this? Comments.js. And these are the requirements that we want comments.js to have. We want we wanted to have a creator ID, a creator name, a parent, which kind of describe what is this comment refer. This comment, you comment on a specific story, so the parent is just like the parent ID of the story. So wait, so what I'm I'll write it on the board. So you kind of have like, you have a story, right? Which is like a little message, whatever. Within the story, you're going to have multiple comments. You have multiple comments in the story. So the parent is just a parameter that says, this comment belongs to this story. That's what the parent is saying. So, go ahead and comments that just should be empty. Just create that so that we have these parameters in the comments and we want them to be strings. All of them to be strings. I'll start writing my my solution.
Also guys, just as a quick summary of what the parent field is for comments, remember how we mentioned that everything in MongoDB has like an underscore ID that's generated for it? Yes, thumbs up? Okay, so the use of the parent field in comments is that each story is going to have a unique ID. And you remember that when we loaded the feed in workshop 1, we had like ID comments, like we had these unique IDs on each story. So that unique ID is generated from the underscore ID field in the model for story.js. So each story is going to have a unique ID. But now, when we have a comment, we want to link that comment to the story. And the best way of doing that is by linking the comment to the underscore ID that you have in the story it corresponds to. So that's basically what parent is. It's a field that what it stores is a string. And that string is just the ID of the story that it's corresponding to. Hope that clears that up.
Also writing my solution. So first we need to require mongoose. Then we need to create the schema. So what's the comment model schema equals to new mongoose schema. Put an object inside of the schema. We have creator ID, we want it to be a string. Creator name, we want this to be also a string. Parents, we want this to be a string. Contents, we also want this to be a string. Now that we have our schema, we have to export this. So I'll just have it into a variable. Constant comment model equals equal mongoose model. First parameter is the name, which we call this a comment model. Let me just make sure it's a comment model. And we create the schema in the second parameter. And the last thing is just exporting this. This is what your solution should look like.
Raise your hand if you haven't reached this yet, or need help. Raise your hand if you need help. Cool.
Alright, so now that we have a model, and we have a model for story and model for comments, our front end still doesn't know how to create stories. So we're going to make endpoints. If you remember that, like we did in Vue.js, I'll show you that in a second. We're going to create endpoints to create models or post models or retrieve models and things like that. All right. If you, just for everyone to be on the same page, do this in your terminal. You go and git reset --hard, and then git checkout step 2. And we still need to install npm. Before this, I already made it so that Mongoose appears in package.json. So you just have to do npm install. This will install Mongoose. I'll just confirm that real quick. Yeah, Mongoose should be somewhere here. All right. And so before we actually open API, is everyone on the same page here? Has everyone read this comment? So last thing I want you to do is just change your MongoDB URI to what it is to be. Currently, it is something else. Currently, it should be my own MongoDB. It should be mine. So just change it to be yours. So you're just gonna have to do this again. Go here, copy and paste this link. Change the password and the username. Also, make sure you remove those little brackets. Those are just like, it's kind of like a placeholder for what needs to go there.
And key point, do actually copy and paste the link from your website, from your account again, because even the numbers after it are unique to the user.
Yeah.
So don't just edit out his name, put your name and your password in there. Actually go and copy and paste.
I'll run npm start just real quick, just to make sure everything is working as expected, and yes. So now, open views.js. Already open it right here. Views.js, as we said earlier, views.js sends you specific files. Like right here, if you type view profile, it will send you profile.html. If you type here, just a slash, it sends you index.html. These are sending specific files, HTML files. But we want to send just a piece of data, right? So it makes sense for us to use a different folder. Instead of putting that in here in views.js, which has files, we want to send just a piece of data in a JSON format. That's why we're going to write that in API.js. So currently, I already have some skeleton code in your API.js. It should look like this. We have Express that we imported, and we also have we imported our stories from earlier, which is, the path is right here. Move back from our folder, go into the models directory, and pick story.js. And the next exercise I want you to do is place the path for comments.js. Right here, where it says place the path here. Give me a second to do that. This should simply look like, it's basically the same, except you put comment.js. is right here. So, yeah. Since we have a sponsor lecture, I'm gonna have to wrap up. We'll continue this tomorrow, and just tell you what's coming up. So now that we have our models, we're trying to create sort of a bridge for our front end to access this model, and send us different things that we'll ask for. And we'll get into that tomorrow. Right. So just before we finish, just run git reset --r. This is going to remove the changes that we made here, but we're just going to do them again tomorrow.
So guys, just one last point, we're about to have a guest lecture. For tomorrow, I think what the plan will be is we're planning to have a lecture on like a bit more advanced CSS techniques and like the JavaScript ecosystem. Definitely we're going to prioritize finishing our app first. So we're going to finish up whatever we have in the databases workshop, and then we also have a whole authentication workshop to go through as well, which is how we'll find, and then after the authentication is done, our whole app will be complete. So hopefully, it seems like you're far away right now, but probably hopefully in more like an hour and a half more work, 2 hours, our app will be finished. So really cool stuff coming up, but we'll finish it tomorrow.
Thank you guys. Stop right here.